Hello everyone, this is Mashiach Emmanuel, Mikael, Eretz Israel David, and I'm going to give you a short Bible study. This is a followation of the greater Bible study that I did. It was like 2 hours and 20 minutes and 59 seconds, and you know, I've only had 2 views. I think it's just too much for some people to be able to listen to it all. So I'm going to give a short 20-minute Bible study, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to the point where I was bridging in the bigger Bible study, which if you like this, you can go on to the original one, where I was bridging the Jewish Aboriginal cultures into one unique history that started with Adam and Eve and went on to the Exodus and the children of Israel wandering through the wilderness. Okay, so here we go, and I've got my Tanakh here, and what I would like to read to you today a bit about this is a bit about the Exodus. Was that before I go on, that Abraham, as we know him as Abraham or Abraham, he was from the land of Ur-Kasdim. Now what happened with him, he was with his family members in Ur-Kasdim, and which was his birthplace and that of his father's house, the land that I will show you. Okay, and there's a bit of a story that it goes before, it starts before Abraham actually makes this journey, and there's a short passage that sort of like goes to where I'll just read it. It's from Genesis 25. Okay, and I'll go from 24. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he begot Terah. And Nahor lived 119 years after begetting Terah. And he begot sons and daughters. So he's had Terah, and he's had other children that have followed that aren't mentioned here. Now, when Terah had lived 70 years, he begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Now, these three brothers, right? This is very important. You have to follow these 3 brothers. There's interesting family relationship here. Now, these are the chronicles of Terah. Terah begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran begot Lot. So Haran begot Lot, right? And then Haran died in the lifetime of Terah, his father. So Haran died before his father and his brothers and sisters. He was the youngest of Nahor's children, but he died prior to him. Terah, sorry, not Nahor, Terah, Nahor being his brother, sorry. And so he died before Terah, Haran did, even though it's his son. Haran died in the lifetime of Terah, his father, in his native land in Kasdim. Okay, and Abraham and Nahor, so they're the two surviving brothers, took themselves wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran. So Milcah was the daughter of Haran. Therefore, Haran didn't die pre-puberty, but he had a child, married and had a child, and this was the wife of Nahor. Okay? The father of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. Now, Iscah is similar to the name Isaiah, and I'd like to point this out. So, obviously, Lot was his oldest son. Milcah was the following child, and Iscah was the youngest son. Okay? And Iscah is like the name Isaiah, where Abraham was named his son Isaiah, or Iscah you could say. Right, so Iscah was his son, but then to Abraham, Iscah was his brother's son. So this is an interesting point where he'd named his child similar to his brother, so they both had children, Iscah or Isaiah. Not Isaiah. Isaac. Iscah, Isaac. So Isaac must have been a family relative that was maybe not mentioned in the names of the previous families, but could have been an uncle or a grandfather or something like that. And so it was important for them to name that child. And so that's why two of them had that similar name, Iscah and Isaac. And Sarah was barren, she had no children. Okay, so Terah took his son Abraham and Lot the son of Haran, his grandson, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of Abraham, his son. And they departed with them from Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan. They arrived at Haran. So here, there's a place called Haran. And they arrived at Haran and they settled there. Now, what I propose to you is that Haran was a place in Kasdim that was named by them, Haran, was actually the burial place of Haran. And so that the family, because the one who had the children, had more children, happened to be the youngest child, Haran. He had children. He had Lot, Milcah, and Iscah. So the family, Terah took his family to camp where Haran was buried, and they're to grow up in that place, right? And this was on their way to the land of Canaan. So it's not that it was in the land of Canaan, it's just that it was on the way, that this was the way to the journey of Canaan, was first at Haran. So they would have had sorry business. When he died, all the families would have had to turn up at Haran, where Haran was being buried, and they would have had to do ceremony for Haran, and that ceremony could go on for a while, for months, and then there would be a session of men's business that would go on after Haran's been buried, where young boys would be made into men. They'd basically do their bar mitzvah, and so they would settle there for this purpose. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So Terah was too upset to leave, and so he stayed there. Then Hashem said to Abraham, "Go for yourself from your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you." So see, this is still in Haran, Ur Kasdim, the place of his land, of his relatives' land, and of the house and his father's house, where Terah had established himself. "And I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be blessed. I will bless those who bless you, and him who curses you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you." So here is a prophetic message where God is speaking that Abraham was going to go to places that his families and peoples were not from, and he was going to go there, and he was going to show them the proper way to live according to the people of Ur Kasdim, and where Abraham was born and native to. So Abraham went as Hashem had spoke to him, and Lot went with him. Okay? So Lot was obviously similar age to Abraham, and Lot, so this makes a point where I don't think, even though it says Terah lived 70 years, he begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. I don't think that, I think that, and then there was, I think that Haran was older than Abraham. It's just to put Abraham first because Abraham is the main character in the story, right? And then Nahor because he was a living member, and then Haran, who was a sorry name, who had passed away, and a place was named after him where his father Terah held his household. Okay, so and to the land I will show you. So Abraham was going to go to these lands and show them how to live. And obviously this will unfold as we go. And I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who curse you I will curse, and all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. So Abraham went as Hashem had spoken to him, and Lot went with him, who was probably similar age and was Abraham's older brother Haran's son. And Abraham was 75 years old when he left Haran. So here you go, that Abraham was 70 when he left Haran, when he left his people. So he was now coming to be an elder, and would have had grey hair, maybe had a bit dark hair, who knows. And Abraham took his wife Sarah and Lot his brother's son and all their wealth that they had amassed, and the souls they made in Haran, and they left to go to the land of Canaan. The souls they made in Haran. This is an interesting. Is this to say the souls they made in Haran and the souls they made in Haran? Is this to say that the men that when they were young they did their bar mitzvah with Abraham, that Abraham made these souls into men, and they also went with Abraham and Lot and Sarai? Okay, and they left to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan. So here you would see that Abraham had travelled, and this Bible recording might go a bit longer than 20 minutes, but it shouldn't be that much longer. Now here we have Australia, and if you see the land of Canaan that they would go, they would have had to travel through Asia, which the Macassans were known to travel through these areas and trade with Aboriginals of this country. We won't call it Australia here, we'll call it Newcastle. And they would travel by boat and all that, and it was very common. Aboriginals used to use boats, little boats, to go around and go hunting, in waters. Anyway, and they would go across, and then they would find themselves on the trade places between India and China, which went through all the way to Saudi Arabia and Egypt, which were places where there was a lot of people of wealth in these Egypt and Saudi Arabia, wealthy people. And so as trade was brought from Asia over to them, and they would have joined their people, and there would have been plenty of food they could have got and traded for food and different things. So they wouldn't have had to do the traditional hunting things that they used to do to go to, they wouldn't have to do the traditional hunting things. They could buy food and whatnot on their way, and they could, they could have traded baskets and with their skills with stringy bark, they would have been able to make mats with pandanus and that. And they would have carried a lot of things with them, and they would have had all the young men that they had made, carry things, and they would have had, carvings that they used to do and all that. They would have had a lot of things that they could trade, and they would have brought these unique things across that people would have never seen before and got good money for it. Or people that would have bought it along the way would have thought they would get good money for it and to buy it off them. And so they would have done well. And maybe they could have even got livestock and different things along the way with what they had. And so they went along into the land of Canaan. Anyway, and so there, so Abraham took his wife Sarai and Lot his brother's son, and the wealth they had amassed, and the souls they had made in Haran, and they left to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan. Abraham passed into the land as far as the site of Shechem. The site of Shechem. Now Shechem, it says the site of Shechem. So the site of Shechem must have been a site, mean a sacred site. This was a place of sacred to him, until the plain of Morah. Okay, right, Shechem, until the plain of Morah. So this Shechem sacred site was right on a plain. Would have been sand there. They would have been able to do dancing, corroboree and whatnot there. And the Canaanite was in the land. Right? So this isn't exactly just saying that it was that they were in the land of Canaan, but that was that where the round Shechem and Morah was the Canaanite, meaning they had spread themselves to them lands, right? Also as a possibility too to keep in mind. And so Abraham, obviously along his journey, was learning the language, and Hashem appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to Hashem, who appeared to him. From there, he relocated to the mountain east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to Hashem and invoked Hashem by name. Then Abraham journeying steadily towards the south. Okay? So, it appears that Abraham had travelled to, first of all, he'd travelled along, he must have came along the rivers here, the Euphrates and whatnot, and gone up and maybe gone as far as through Iraq and Syria, maybe even to Turkey, and then started making his way down south towards Egypt. Okay? Alright. There was a famine in the land, and Abraham descended to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land, and it occurred as he was about to enter Egypt. He said to his wife Sarai, "See now, I have known that you are a woman of beautiful appearance. And it shall occur when the Egyptians will see you, they will say, 'This is his wife,' then they will kill me. But you they will let live. Please say that you are my sister, that I may go well with me, that it may go well with me for your sake, and that I may live on account of you." Well, you have to understand that Sarai, and obviously the people they were from Ur-Kasdim were Aboriginal. They were dark-skinned people, dark-skinned, copperish looking skin, with long hair and, you know, even dyed hair from the sun and from the ochres that they would put in their hair during ceremony that would make their hair bleach also. And so they looked very unique compared to the blacks in Egypt and in the area that, you know, African appearance and negroid with the afro hair. And so even though she was an elder woman, like Abraham was an elder man, and all the same, the problem is that they were very unique, and that the Egyptians would show interest, not just because of she being a woman, but she being a very unique woman, one that, you know, you got to basically say Abraham and his crew, they were the first of the people of Ul-Qasim to actually leave Ul-Qasim, Australia, and to go out into these areas, especially Egypt, far, far away, where it's close to, you know, it's part of the Africa, you know, and the African people. So, yeah, sure, that they were over in Egypt used to seeing blacks, but not blacks like these. Very unique and beautiful, with special, beautiful, and pure mannerisms and culture. And so these all played on the part of Abraham, that he may live on the account of Sarai. But it occurred with Abraham's coming to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When the officials of Pharaoh saw her, they lauded her for Pharaoh. Lauded her for Pharaoh. Lauded, I think, is to really to say they really praised her to Pharaoh. This is a woman that they'd never seen before. Someone you have to see. She has to be yours. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house, obviously with Abraham, alright? And there was Sarai, and he treated Abraham well for her sake. And he acquired sheep, cattle, donkeys, slaves, and maidservants, female donkeys, and camels. So here they gained wealth. And you have to remember, Sarai was barren. So she wasn't having any child to anyone. Not Pharaoh, not to Abraham, not to anyone. And but Hashem afflicted Pharaoh along with his household with severe plagues because of the matter of Sarai, the wife of Abraham. So I believe that Aboriginal people have an understanding of being able to sing storms, to sing the wind. They were able to vent their upsets and to be able to bring about, you know, the nature, Mother Nature, appealing to the person, now being Abraham, who was upset that, you know, his wife is being treated like a harlot, and she's probably been very, very modest and maybe even, you know, like pure, staying very pure, and she just was playing Pharaoh for the sake of her brother, but, you know, smile and then look serious and whatever, different things, and, you know, notice something and then look away, and, you know, sit there and look and then look away, and, you know, not really showing him a little bit interest to keep him alive, but not enough interest for him to want to, you know, to make her as his head of his house. Pharaoh summoned Abraham and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she is your wife?" So obviously what's happened is that Sarai was being faithful to Abraham, and secretly they were continuously showing their love to each other, husband and wife. And as words got back to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh's come back to Abraham and said, "Why you done this?" And he's feeling that he's suffering because of it, because he's obviously Abraham's been singing this guy with singing the wind up, singing the little bloody plagues and insects and whatnot, different things, trying to sun boils, whatever. Aboriginals have this in their power, and very clever with bush medicine to be able to make your cripple or anything just from something they get from the bush. Very clever people, and they obviously he was tormenting the Pharaoh behind the scenes just to try and keep him back to make sure that Pharaoh wouldn't go. And why did you say she is my sister so that I would take her as my wife? So Pharaoh had taken her as his wife, but he was, back then Pharaoh had many wives, many concubines, and this one, Sarai was holding out, not going with him, and then they found out why, because she was sneaking off with Abraham and saying, this brother and sister going together. No, what? Well, let's see. And they found out the truth, that it's husband and wife. Now here is your wife, take her and go. So now the Pharaoh is saying to take Sarai, Abraham, and get out of my household. So Pharaoh gave men orders concerning him, and they escorted him and his wife and all that was his. So Pharaoh now was very embarrassed. And if he did the wrong thing towards Abraham, then you have to remember it was Pharaoh that was breaking the law. It was Pharaoh that was sleeping or trying to sleep with another man's wife. Yeah. It was Pharaoh that was doing the adultery or trying to do adultery. He was the one in the wrong. Even by all his own people, they'd be saying, why did you do that? Why didn't you check everything before? Because he was bloody fallen in love with Sarai because of her uniqueness and being so different to any woman that he'd ever seen before, that he overlooked to follow proper procedures that he'd, and his Pharaoh should know these things. So he was making look very bad on him. Just, the best thing he can do is just let him go. You see? Okay. So Abraham went from Egypt, and he with his wife and all that was his, and Lot with him, to the south. And Abraham was very laden with livestock, silver and gold. So now, Abraham obviously brought with him and been carrying around a lot of gold, which he probably had in dilly bags, bringing with him from Australia, which has got heaps of gold. He brought that gold with him. He used gold as to buy things and buy. He was a wealthy man. Yeah, sure, he was a cultural man and followed cultural things and was a real man's man, Nishai's man. But he carried gold and he was wealthy and he had nice things. Yeah. He proceeded on his journey from the south to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been first, between Bethel and Ai, to the site of the altar which he had erected there at first, and there Abraham invoked Hashem by name. So now Abraham has gone back to where he had been earlier before he'd gone to Egypt. Also, Lot went with Abraham, his flocks, cattle, and tents, and the land could not support them dwelling together, for their possessions were abundant, and they were unable to dwell together. And there was a quarrelling between the herdsmen of Abraham's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite were then dwelling in the land. Okay, so obviously, you know, they're gold. Yeah, it's easy to carry gold bags, gold to have your boys, initiated men, bar mitzvah men, you know, carrying gold for you in bags or whatever, dilly bags, you know, that carry over their shoulders or over their head, all different ways, you know, sitting up there and rest on their back and all that. But now that gold has materialized into cattle, into things that a bit more, you know, you got to take a lot more care of. They have to eat. You got to graze them and whatnot. And so here now, Abraham and Lot, Abraham and Lot having problem. So Abraham said to Lot, "Please let there be no strife between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are kinsmen. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you go left, then I will go right. And if you go right, then I will go left." So it was only them two. It was a simple solution that they go opposite directions. You feed on that side, I'll feed on this side. See you over there. Hi, neighbor. But, you know, not going over each other's food and your headman and my headman taking each other's food, no. So Lot raised his eyes and saw the entire plain of the Jordan, and that it was well watered everywhere before Hashem destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Hashem, like the land of Egypt going toward Zoar. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed from the east. Thus they parted one from his brother. Okay. Abraham dwelt in the land of Canaan, while Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched tents as far as Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and sinful toward Hashem exceedingly. Hashem said to Abraham, after Lot had parted from him, "Raise now your eyes and look out from where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward, for all the land that you see, to you will I give it, and to your descendants forever. I will make your offspring the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring too can be counted. Arise, walk about the land through its length and breadth, for to you will I give it." And Abraham moved his tent and came and dwelt in the plains of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and he built there an altar to Hashem. Okay, so Abraham had now got the land of Israel, and he'd gone to Hebron, which is Judea, where the tribe of Judea come. So obviously that promise was bestowed finally upon Judah. From there went down to David, who dwelt in Hebron in Yehuda. And So, okay. Now I'm just going to have a quick look in, look in another Torah that I've got here, and just have a look. Okay, getting close now. Okay, come on. Okay. Yeah, so here, okay. Okay, so here where we go, we're going to go on and we're going to go. And the Lord said to Abraham after Lot was separated from him, lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see, to you will I give it, and to your seed forever. And I will make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man can number the dust of the earth, then shall your seed also be numbered. Arise, walk through the land in the length of it, and in the breadth of it, for to you will I give it. Then Abraham pitched his tent and came to and dwelt in the grove of Mamre, which is in Hebron, and he built there an altar to the Lord. Okay. And it came to pass in the day of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, that these made war with Berah, king of Sodom, and with Besra, king of Gomorrah, Shinbi, king of Admah, and Sheber, king, Pursuit, king of Zeboim, and the king Bela, which is Zorah. And these joined together into the vale of Siddim, which is now the Salt Sea. 12 years had they served Kedorlaomer, but the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Kedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and they smote the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Canaim, and the Zuzim in Ham, and the Elim in Shavah Kiriabaim, and the Horites in their mountain Seir, unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazoron Tamar. And then went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same Azor, and they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim, with Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of Goim, and Arphil, king of Shinar, and Oric, king of Elasar, 4 kings with 5. And the Vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell therein, and they that remained fled to the mountain. So obviously this place was where these kings were. There was oil. There was lots of oil. I think they just saw it as slime, slime, but it was oil. And there was maybe, that was the area that they were in. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and went off. And there came one that had escaped and told it to Abraham the Hebrew. And he dwelt in the grove of Mamre, the Morite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Ener, and these were allies of Abraham. Okay, so here Abraham was considered a Hebrew. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them to Dan. And he divided against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them to Hobah, which is to the left of Damascus. And he brought back to all the goods, and he also brought back to his brother Lot and his goods, and also the woman and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him, and after his return from smiting Kedorlaomer and the kings that were with him at the valley of Sheva, which is the king's valley, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine, and he was a priest of the Most High God. Now, I think that this Melchizedek was the priest of the Most High God, was not the same God of Abraham that Abraham was praying to and building altars for his God, because his God was from Ur-Kasdim, the God of his native God. Whereas in Melchizedek, king of Salem, he was in the land of Canaan. He was native to the land of Canaan, of Salem, and he had his God, and he had bread and wine, and a priest of the Most High, they said. And he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abraham of the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth." So this was not that saying that back then there was many gods, it wasn't the era of Abraham's God being all over the earth. And so to Melchizedek, his God was the God of all gods, and especially of heaven and earth. So he says of the heaven and the earth. So basically everything that you read, from between the birds in the sky, the fowl in the sky, to the animals and nature on the earth, it all belongs to Melchizedek, basically, because his God owns it, and he's of his God's people. But here he goes, and he blesses Abraham, because Abraham was victorious in battle, and his men were real manly and strong. And blessed be the Most High God, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. and he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abraham, give me the persons and the goods, take for yourself. So here they were, they wanted to take all his people and leave him with his goods. And Abraham said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand to the Lord, the Most High God. So here Abraham is saying that he swore before Melchizedek by lifting up his hand, right? Yeah? The possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoelace, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest you should say, I have made Abraham rich. So Abraham didn't want anything of their possessions. Basically what he's saying is, I don't want anything that's yours. Let me keep my men and what is mine, and you keep what is yours. And what you have lost in through my victory was done by the God of heaven and earth. So he obviously allowed it to happen. So here Abraham has been wise and using the God of Melchizedek, who obviously was the greater of the kings, to say, well, your God made you lose, not my God, your God. And so let me keep my men, you keep your wealth, and we'll go our separate ways. Save only that which the young men have eaten. So he is saying that his young battlers, the only thing that they've taken from them is what they've eaten. They've taken food on their ways. You know, they've gone through in the battle and they've eaten. But they're not taking anything else, just what they've eaten. And the portion of men who went with me, and Eshcol and Mamre, these may take their portion. So he said so basically he's saying here, for these other people that came on and joined in my battle, you know, your enemies that joined in battle, well, what they're thinking, that's their business. Don't involve me. If they take, expect that. But that's not my way. So I'll keep my man, you keep your property. What they've taken is things. So therefore, he's basically saying that the kings of Sodom and whatnot, Gomorrah, they have a right to be able to battle these men, other people, again in future sake. But as for Abraham, they won't battle him because it said that Abraham became rich from their wealth. No. It was a wealthy man all together. He came with a lot of gold, remember? After these, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. So here, the Lord, the God of Abraham, he calls him a Lord, saying, fear not, Abraham, I am your shield. Your reward shall be exceedingly great. So here, where all this is going on, Abraham's God is his Lord. So he's in his term, his Lord, not Melchizedek's Lord or anyone else's Lord or kings of Sodom or any of them. No, his Lord is going to shield him, protect him, and his reward shall be great. So he doesn't need to take what belonged to the kings of Sodom and all that. What he's got, he'll be wealthy on his own, and he'll be remembered for that. And Abraham said, Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is Eleazar of Damascus? So here he's saying, hey, listen, I've got no child, and the house I have belongs to another man. I just rent it, I use his land and all that, but it's not mine. And Abraham said, behold, to me you have given me no seed, and one born in my house will be my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one shall not be your heir, but he that shall come out of your own bowels shall be your heir. And he led him forth outside and said, Look now toward heaven and count the stars, if you be able to count them. And he said to him, so shall your seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. But he said to him, I am the Lord that brought you out of Ur, the land Ur-Kasdim. See, now this is his God is making very clear. I'm not the God of these people, Canaanites and Sidonites and Melchizedek. I'm the God of that brought you from the land of Ur-Kasdim, your God, the real God, your God, not these other people, of the Chaldees, to give to you this land to inherit. Okay? Okay. Alright, and I'm just going to okay. Just want to check on something here. Yeah. So here in this book, it says, and Abraham said, My Lord, Hashem Elohim, what can you give me, seeing that I go childless, and the steward of my house is the Damascus Eliezer? Then Abraham said, See to me, you have given no offspring, and see, my steward inherits me. Suddenly the word of Hashem came to him, saying, That one will not inherit you, only he that shall come forth from within you shall inherit you. And he took him outside and said, Gaze now towards the heavens and count the stars, if you be able to count them. And he said to him, So shall your offspring be. And he trusted in Hashem, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. He said to him, I am Hashem who brought you out of the land of Ur-Kasdim to give you this land to inherit. He said, My Lord Hashem Elohim, whereby shall I know that I am to inherit it? And he said to him, Take to me 3 heifers, 3 goats, 3 rams, a turtle dove, and a young dove. He took these to him, and he cut them in the center and placed each piece opposite its counterpart. The birds, however, he did not cut up. Or in this one it says, the birds he did not divide. Birds of prey descended upon the carcasses, and Abraham drove them away. And it happened the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and behold, a great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Abraham, Know with certainty that your offspring shall be aliens in a land not of their own. So here God is saying that your offspring, you're going to have offspring. It's not that you're not going to have offspring. We're going to give you offspring. But they're going to be aliens in this land. And a land not their own. Yeah? Here it says, And he said to Abraham, Know for sure that your seed shall be a stranger in the land which is not theirs, and they will make them serve, and they will afflict them 400 years. Here it says, oppress them 400 years. But also the nation that they will serve I shall judge. So here, that the Canaanites, where Abraham's descendants live, God is going to judge them, that these people that made them to serve. And afterwards they will leave with great wealth. And here, and also nation they shall serve, I will judge. And afterwards shall they go out with great possessions. But you shall come to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. So here it says, and you shall come to your ancestors in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. So here, God is saying that his people are going to come back to the land of Ur-Kasdim, to the land of his ancestors, to his people, right? And this is going to happen. He's letting him know. He's giving him a heads up. This is going to happen. He's going to be able to do this. Okay? And the fourth generation shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites will not be full until then. And here it says, and the fourth generation shall return here, for the iniquity of the Amorite shall not yet be full until then. So here, what we get is that, and sorry that it's going a bit over 20 minutes, a bit like my rabbi, my 1 minute is 20 minutes, so my 20 minutes is an hour and 20. Let's try and wind it up a bit anyway. But I hope you're enjoying this. This is amazing. So here, they're going to be suffering from these people until the fourth generation. So Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, and then Yehuda is the fourth generation, which is the tribe of Judah. So here it's saying Abraham's first, Isaac, Yaakov, and then Yaakov's children. So basically it's saying that Yaakov's children, his children, they will all return to the promised land, the land of Ur-Kasdim. But as for the other children, the other generations, they're going to miss this opportunity. They won't make it back to the Ur-Kasdim, but they will be like counted among the stars of the heaven in the earth. But then for the fourth generation, the Israelites, the children of Israel, they will make it back to the land of Ur-Kasdim. They will come back eventually, and when they come back, they will come back to his ancestors. And not only that God is going to give him a long life to be able to see this process taking place. He's going to see a lot going on. Okay. So anyway, it goes on, and we won't be long here. And it came to pass when the sun had gone down and it was dark, see, a smoking furnace and a burning flame had passed between those pieces. Okay, so this smoking flame had been gone between those pieces. That meaning there was no coming back. What God had said has been done, and that the Amorite, they shall not be full until then. So that means that all the descendants of Abraham were going to be treated really, really bad. They're going as servants for this period of 400 years. So this 400 years now counts from this time of Abraham, and it goes all the way even past where people thought that in Egypt, that was the land. In Egypt there was 400 years of servants and then it finished. No, even when the Israelites are in Hebron and areas, surrounding areas, and all them areas, they are still becoming servants of the Amorite, then the humiliation of the Amorites, rather than away from the Amorites and in the pride of their ancestors and culture, and this is where the renewal takes place down the track with Moshe. Okay, so anyway, and on the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your seed have I given this land, from the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, and Kadmonites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Rephaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Grishites, and the Jebusites, pursued them unto Hobor, which is to the left of Damascus. So here what we've got is where this is really, really, really important. So here they're getting I've got to keep a track of these two Torahs going side by side, but here, just give me 1 second. Okay, so here the Lord had made a covenant with Abraham of what he said. So when the fire had gone between the four places, and God had made the promise that Abraham was going to go back to his ancestors, to your seed I have given this land. Given to your seed have I given this land. Alright, so here, when he's saying seed, Abraham hasn't had any children yet. His seed, right, is not just his seed, his brother's seed, his brother's seed, call Abraham back home in Yucastim dad. Yeah, the child of the brother calls each uncle dad, father. That's how it is. So he's going to go back to the land. They're going to go back to the land, right? The given land, and then God here says the way that you will travel. So here is a message, and I think this basically is just saying in reverse the way they came when they originally came to Canaan and to Egypt. They followed through Asia and then across Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and then so on and so forth, gone through, and then maybe up to Turkey, and then down to Syria, and to Hebron and then to Egypt. So here now is telling him the reverse way to go back to where they'd come from. So he made a covenant saying, to your seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt, so from the Nile, unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So travel from Egypt, where you'd come from. Because remember, God knew by the fourth generation during the time of Moshe that this is where the portion of the Israelites would be. That this would be the fourth generation of Abraham's descendants would be that would have to return. So here Abraham is making a record of this to, right, Euphrates. Then it goes. The Canaanites and the Kenzites and the Cardomanites. So here it's mentioning 3 tribes that probably you keep on going through from the Euphrates. You'll go through these people. And then the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Rephaim. Alright, so there. Okay. And then it says, and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So here is saying that these Canaanites and Amorites, they're going to be through these places, all through these places, right? But you'll come across other people like the Girgashites and the Jebusites. So it was, they were going to go through all these people, right? And finally, right, they would come. Now Sarah's wife had borne no children. She had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So here, time's going on and Abraham is still there and he's just made a record of this that would be passed down from generation to generation of how the fourth generation would make its way home from the land of Egypt. And it makes a note that it will be up to even the Amorite and the Canaanite will be there all the way with them out, through the Euphrates, goes all the way until they reach the land of the Girgashite and the Jebusite, and then they'll be out of their way, and then they'll be coming back to Ukasim. Now it goes on to a new thing. Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children. She had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said to Abraham, see now Hashem has restrained me from bearing. Consort now with my maidservant. Perhaps I will build up through her. And Abraham heeded the voice of Sarai. So there you go. This is where it tells you that the land of Ur-Kasdim is the land of Abraham's ancestors, and it's where the fourth generation of Abraham, right, that generation's offspring would come back to the land of Ur-Kasdim. Finally, they would come back, but that the Amorite, they would be on their tail until the very, very, very end. But that God will judge them for making them treat them like servants when they were a proud people with a proud culture, and these people had no sense of what these people really, really were about. All they thought about was wealth. But Abraham, when he conquered, he didn't take the other people's wealth. He said, no, let me keep my men. When the Sodomites wanted to take, the people of Sodom wanted to take their soldiers because they thought, oh, these soldiers are so great in victory and battle. If we take them, we'll win every battle. But Abraham wasn't going to settle for it. So, and they went their way. So I prayed that people might listen to this Bible study. And I pray that you don't be taken up by the noise in the background. I apologize for that. And I pray for you all. I pray that you all have peace in your lives. I pray that you find goodness and kindness wherever you go, and that you spread goodness and kindness in your lives and make a purpose with your life. Don't just throw your lives away. And understand, if you are the fourth generation, the Israelites, the people that inherited the blessing of Abraham, that the message here is that until you make your way, and here is the way to go back to the land of Ur-Kasdim, to the place of your ancestors, that you will be under the problem that the Amorite have put upon you, to treat you like a slave. But there is hope that through Moses, that he prepared the Israelites through making sukkahs. And even today in New York or in Bondi or in London, you'll see a Jewish family putting up a sukkah and sleeping in their sukkah and eating in their sukkah and living just the way the Ur-Kasdim people, the ancestors of Abraham, right, the first of his people to be outside of Ur-Kasdim, which he must have left after being so sorry of losing his father, who died a very painful and sorrowful death due to losing his son. And there was kids around that were crying and wanted to be fed, and they wanted to provide. And Abraham was looking for something better, but in the end, just like it always goes, that home is best. Where you come from is where you should be, and that you should journey and find your way back home. Don't stray too far from home. And this goes to show that the children of Israel, the land of Australia, Ur-Kasdim, is your ancestral land. And thank God that your ancestors and the people of your seed, the Aboriginals in Australia, have been spared and haven't been wiped out by the British, and that they are still here, and that they can join you to be again part of the land and to be able to live the culture. And I just wonder whether you, if you were to come to Australia, will you want to live among your fellow people and improve the lives of your fellow people with what knowledge you've learned and brought home? And would you be able to help them and make life better here? Or would you want to live like it is in Egypt and bring all that other tainted knowledge that you have learned to Ur-Kasdim and to what we call Australia today? Or will you live like Moshe was telling the Israelite children all along, that that's how they have to live? And until we live the proper way and understand the Torah in its proper form, we will not be able to live our lives here. And God, for some reason, brought a portion of our people here due to the suffering of the Holocaust and the Second World War. And he had brought out the word of the book of life and these Torah studies to be able to wake you up and realize that the land of Ur-Kasdim is not over there in the Middle East, but we are going to acquire a lot of great wealth from all the oil and the gases that were found recently, and when and that we will acquire great wealth, and we will bring that wealth back to the land of Ur-Kasdim and finally settle here, away from that land where we only suffer terror after terror by the Philistines who lost their land to the Egyptians. So they stole the land that the Israelites had been living on due to their victories and God's blessing. and may they come here in peace and God's blessing, and may we come to re-establish not just this land but all the earth into a paradise. I pray for you all now that you can come to your senses, come and visit here, and don't forget that before we leave the land of Yisrael and that part of the world where the Canaanites live, that we were taken on the journey of Abraham, his walkabout away from his people and his ancestors, and he'd come here to this to the great land where he's going to make much wealth from the oil and gas that he can bring here and do business, and we can all be so wealthy and successful without worrying about terrorism, and let the scavengers fight for it. But it won't be like that, because we will be a light to the nations, and we will build the holy temple, and that holy temple will be a place for all nations to worship the God of Ur-Kasdim, the Lord of Abraham, Elohim. Okay, and so on that note, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to this 20-minute, which turned out to be 1 hour and 21 minutes and seconds counting. I hope you enjoyed it, and you will see now the relationship between the Aboriginals and the descendants of Abraham. And as Ishmael, he's going to stay there, and he's happy, and he's become princes over there, and he's happy over there, and no one's hurting him or doing problem with him. Whereas in the Israelites are still suffering problems and all the anti-Semite and terrorism. It's time we move away, but let's first bring our wealth with us.
Can we go do this job?